Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the forces of JDB's Kitchen make their triumphant return to the island's financial center. And the recent refugees of Purple's Coming dig through the dunes of Brimstone Sands. And the forces of Commit expand the Syndicate Union by securing the uncontested Monarch's Bluff. KOTT News were on the scene in Monarch's Bluff and spoke with the top healer of the match. Chorizo, do you want to say a few words?
Just that I got 3 kills with the light staff. Get good scrubs. That's about it in a 1 minute war or 2 minute war. How long was it?
I'm sorry it wasn't that exciting for you.
Oh man, that's the very first time I ever went 3-0 like that in a war. So.
And as a healer, I mean, you pulled in a perfect game, as they say.
Yeah. I don't know about perfect. I think there was a lot I can improve on in that war, in that 2 minute war.
Moments later, KOTT responded to the fall of Brimstone Sands and got reactions from the newly anointed governors. Congratulations on your victory into the fort and over with in about 15 minutes, if that. Would you care to take us through how you were able to succeed so quickly?
Well, honestly, I had no idea what the plan was going into it. I just got off work and, had 5 minutes. I literally just drove here as fast as I could, hopped on my computer. We hopped in Discord, and, my group didn't even have a main caller. It was just so weird, but I guess we just beat the shit out of him. It was kind of easy. It was weird.
Well, was there anybody in your group who stood out in their performance tonight?
I would just like to give a shout out to Rezi. He's in my group. He was just a random fill-in, and boy, I just love that kid. He's awesome. He did well. Same with our healer. Our healer Mustard had first time healing us both. Did a good job. Hey, can I say one thing?
Of course. What would you like to say?
Hey, I just want everyone to know. Make sure you fight like a demon, bark like a dog.
As that interview was wrapping up, so was the war in Windsward. KOTT News caught up with the JDB representative to talk about their return. Congratulations on your victory in Windsward, once again taking back the financial capital of the island. How's it feel to be back?
You know, there's a lot of things I'd like to say, and I'd like to thank everyone here that, came out to support me. A lot of guys from the company, have been putting me up and putting a lot of work into getting, some of my gear finished. I was getting my ult today. I was getting a bunch of other stuff, leveling up my gear in general, shard buying, gold, all of that. It's a lot of work we put in, a lot of people are saying, wow, these guys just destroyed them. But you gotta realize there's even more work put into this win than it was just, we destroyed them. We worked so hard for this, we got value out of it.
It sounds like you did. Putting the final touches on getting your equipment ready and your abilities ready. Anybody out there in particular on your team who helped you get over the line tonight?
Ryug, got me a bunch of gear, so let's just say that an undescript amount of gear. It was very expensive, but if you want to take a look at this, I'll give you a little look of this sword in area chat. This is, one of my favorite pieces of gear. I have it on a few accounts now, but it's my favorite.
It looks pretty sharp. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it looks pretty great,
Well, let me ask you, now that you're back, do you have any ambitions to expand the Syndicate beyond the borders of Windsward?
I think it's quite realistic to say that we will once own the entire map, and that anyone who doesn't follow our rules will be subject to terrible things that I'm not going to describe. But I think that, we showed Outcasts that we can beat them in 15 minutes, and then that's it, man. We're going to take them down. We're going to eat them alive. Other things that are probably too violent to describe here, but that's what we're going to do.
Returning to our continuing coverage of the Season 1 activities event, last night's card was a capital I. Leave a comment below if you're taking the time to create different shapes along the way. Turning to the weather for today, and another afternoon of sunshine for all you flower sniffers out there, vanquishing wasps and gathering pollen. But look out after sundown as the temperatures drop and the corruption invasion forces come out across 40% of the island. Another submission for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Tonight, the Marauders of Emotional Damage assail the Syndicate members of Commit for control of the master fishing port town of Reekwater. The CEOs of Beijing Corn return to the action after taking a couple of weeks of practice, preparing themselves to get past this level of difficulty. Commit forces coming off their cakewalk up the bluff last night are well rested and prepared to commit their entire army to defending again tonight. We'll have any late-breaking outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, This has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as the Syndicate forces of Commit managed to maintain the master fishing port town of Reekwater. KOTT News were on the scene and spoke with a fellow member of the Fire Staff Union about the victory. Congratulations on your victory here in Reekwater, taking down the forces of Emotional Damage. Would you care to take us through how you took them down tonight?
Honestly, they caused me a little bit of emotional damage. It was a really tough war. I'm sure everybody can agree that if we weren't on top of our game today, we would have lost that war. We just needed to focus up, push up, create space, take space, and show them the power of the Fire Staff Union.
That's what they get for laughing when we picked up the Fire Staff, but they will learn.
Yep, they all laughed when we picked up Fire Staff, but now we're on top. We said we wouldn't be ignored, and now we're back with a vengeance.
Fire Staff Union on top.
FSU on top.
Returning to KOTT's ongoing legal battle, today's courtroom hearing will take place in the new Corsica Theater at 3 p.m. server. Citizens are encouraged to fill the gallery surrounding the proceedings in case KOTT needs to call on a few character witnesses. Last night, KOTT news crews were able to get a bingo! Leave a comment below if you take the time to go for a bingo sometimes too. Turning to the weather for today, and it looks like the sun has decided to slowly meander across the southern tip of the island. This unusual weather phenomenon will give rise to northern cold fronts descending from the mountains for a 20% chance of corruption invasion. 3 lineup submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. First up, the Syndicate members of JDB's Kitchen attack the Covenant converts of Outcast for control of the bear-infested deep forests of Brightwood. JDB's Kitchen staff smell blood in the water and take their momentum north to test out a truly focused group of outcasts. But will that focus be enough? Outcasts are backed into the woods with the entirety of their forces, but now that they've seen the reinforced staff of JDB's Kitchen, will they be better prepared? Then, the Covenant members of Outcast 2 assail the Syndicate members of Purple's Comin' for control of the crocodile-infested Cutlass Keys. The up-and-coming members of Outcast 2 getting some extra reps under their belt tonight as well, face off against the recently arrived refugees of Purple's Coming. The organized Syndicate members of Purple's Coming may not have swept across the island as effortlessly as they expected, but now they're finding the challenges they sought when they first washed ashore. On the title card, the Syndicate members of Commit challenge the heavyweight champions of Gorilla Town for their championship title and the right to rule over Everfall. Commit forces attempting a partial panzer maneuver, sneaking into the woods from the south on either border. But will they find the champs unprepared for just such a tactic? Gorilla Town making their first hold of the title belt tonight as they begin their Neverfall trek, controlling the island's regional territory for longevity bragging rights. We'll have any late-breaking outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. The following program is intended to inform its viewers of pending events and should not be misconstrued as an incitement to perform acts of violence. KOTT News are advocates for peace and encourage the citizens to live in harmony. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the forces of Outcast 2 convinced the citizens to convert in Cutlass Keys. KOTT news crews were on the scene and spoke with a council member about the outcome. Congratulations on your victory here in Cutlass Keys, able to get into the fort and get it captured in about 20 minutes. Would you care to take us through how you were able to get it done so quickly?
Yeah, I think the main difference was Panda. As much as we miss him, he's gone, but he did a wonderful job. He role-played as a thief. He went inside their headquarters and stole their war plans. And they did not know what to do. They sent 25 players on C, they lost B, A at the same time, and it was just a steamroll. It's all about the war plans. Kudos and shout out to Panda. He won this for us, even though he was not in the war. you know. And even though he stole a lot of money from us, but yeah, kudos to him. That's how we won.
So Panda is he is diligently stealing from everybody, but even though he stole money from you, he at least gave you the war plans that he stole from the other team.
Oh no, he did not give us the war plans. That's the thing. He stole money from us, so he's running from us. But then he stole war plans from the purple companies so that they could lose their war. Because now their governor doesn't know what to do. They don't have a roster. They don't have a shot call, right? Because there are no war plans. Panda just stole everything.
So they were just running around without any idea of how to engage in war, huh?
Exactly. I think the governor would have wanted, like 8 groups to go to B, 2 groups to contest. Because there were no war plans. Panda stole them. They just didn't know what to do. They just did whatever. It was an OPR.
Earlier in Brightwood, KOTT News caught up with Outcast Prime to discuss their slightly closer outcome.
Congratulations on your victory here in Brightwood against the forces of JDB's Kitchen, who were able to get into fort phase, but only with 5 minutes left because of due diligence outside on Bravo. Would you care to take us through your fight tonight?
We just really pressured their backline a lot more than last time. Last time we were trying to protect our backline, and it ended up being just a complete shit show over in Windsward. We said, F that, this time we're pushing in their backline, even if we have to die to do it. And yeah, we kind of kept them all scattered all war, which worked really well.
Yeah, I understand. Even though you're on defense, you have to be aggressively defensive. So I totally get what you mean. Was there anybody who stood out in their performance tonight?
I think Heater with his 12 deaths and me also with my 12 deaths. We got farmed a little bit. We did our job, soldiering.
Right on, my friend. Well, thanks for stopping to talk to me. Is there anything else you might like to say to the citizens of Eternum? Do you have a channel or a Twitch stream that somebody might tune into?
I have a Twitch stream, but I rarely stream. But just my name? Oh, well, without the 2s. Brian Battis. And yeah, I usually stream most of the wars.
As the final bell sounded the conclusion of the heavyweight championship bout, KOTT News were in the ring to speak with the champs about their performance.
I wanted to congratulate you on your victory here tonight, retaining your heavyweight championship title belt. How does it feel?
Business as usual. Wasted 30 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry you felt that way. It was rather I enjoyed watching the fight. I saw that you held them on Charlie for about 20 minutes outside. Would you care to take us through what you thought it was like?
It was just any other. They staggered themselves, and we kept pushing them back to their spawn, and basically we're waiting for the war to end since the first winning of it, but, that's the world for you.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess you're advising them to regroup more often before coming back out of the assault camp. But is there anybody on your squad that might have stood out in their performance?
I don't think so. I was kind of reading some anime on my other monitor during the war, so I was only halfway paying attention.
Returning to KOTT's ongoing coverage of the Season 1 bingo progression, last night's card was the mathematical symbol for pi. Leave a comment below if you're starting to see shapes in the cards too. Turning to the weather for today, and once the sun continues another cycle across the Eternum sky, be on the lookout for a 10% chance of corruption invasion in a region near you. 2 roster submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPCO. Remember, if it isn't LARPCO, it's cardboard. This is not an incitement to violence. Up first, the Covenant converts of Outcast attack the Syndicate members of the Devoted for control of the arid desert region of Brimstone Sands. Outcast forces, riding the wave of momentum once more, turn their attention to the wealth-laden region of the Northwest, confident that either squad should be able to succeed there. The Devoted forces fighting in 2 simultaneous encounters may have to decide how to split their roster, if indeed they have enough to field 2 at once. Then, the Syndicate members of the Devoted assault the Marauders of Stam Out Z for control of the medicinal hot springs and resort destination of Ebon Scale. The Devoted members of the Syndicate will have a decision to make regarding where to send their forces, but if they prefer to test their offense, then their decision is pretty clear. Stam Out Z forces, not taking any chances, are preparing for the entirety of the offense to be present here, favoring the hot springs over the baths of the desert. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent, Advocate for Peace, JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the Covenant converts of Outcast capture the arid desert region of Brimstone Sands. And the Syndicate members of The Last Role Player snatch away the resort destination of Ebonscale Reach in the final moments. KOTT News were on the scene and spoke with a Syndicate representative about the fight. Congratulations on your victory tonight against the forces of the recently referred to as Destroyers. A good fight into the final 5 minutes. Would you care to take us through how you got into Fort and what got you over the hump?
Yeah, I feel like us as Fresh Bench, we're newly formed and we're trying to figure out who's our soldiers, you know? And I don't know, I think it was a really good war on both sides. I feel like Green is slotting their roster a little more sweaty to make it more competitive, and I respect that. And Fresh Bench, we're out here trying to make our name and see what we can do. So I think the war was pretty good. First 5 minutes, you know, we capped B point, rotated over to C point. It was a little difficult out in areas because they do have some good soldiers and some good players on their side, but I think everybody had a really fun time out there. Honestly, it was pretty competitive, but I think our soldiers just soldiered up and did their job.
Was there anybody who stood out in their performance for you tonight?
Yeah, shout out Devo. Devo is a bitch shot caller. Tells everybody what they're supposed to do. You know, make sure that we're soldiering up and we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. Shout out to my group, Group 3. I'm not going to say what we were doing specifically, but everybody was working together, using their abilities together, doing what they're supposed to do. So shout out my group, Group 3. And shout out Fresh Bench. I think the spot that we're in right now, there's some competitive wars for us to have. Obviously, I'll be clear as day. Outcast, Gorilla Town, and JDB are on top. Those are the top 3. But we're also a roleplay company, and we're trying to get really good at wars. So I think the goal is to be the best role players on the server, and also try to be the best war company on the server one day. So as of right now, look out for Fresh Bench. We're looking for any war that we can get. And yeah, tonight was really fun.
Outcast forces were too busy with payouts to discuss their rapid capture of the dunes, and displaced citizens from Brimstone returned to the Central Corridor to begin life anew. Turning to the weather for today, and once again we see the sun will peek out from the darkness of night, making it sunny all afternoon long. But look out when the sun disappears again and the Corruption Invasion forces return to wreak havoc across 30% of the island. 2 lineup submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it is cardboard. First up, the Covenant converts of Outcasts assault the vault of JDB's kitchen for control of the island's financial capital of Windsward. Outcast forces executing their right to rematch stake out the bank vault and prepare to break in, to once again control the island's distribution of funds. As this new lineup of defenders continue to meld together, JDB's kitchen returned to game shape as they put their best security forces on high alert. Then, the Covenant PVXers of Tropical House attacked the Syndicate members of Commit for Crown and Kingdom of the Western Monarch's Bluff. Tropical House have identified their next opponent and feel confident in their ability to give themselves a sincere chance to succeed by turning their attention to the bluff. Commit forces providing the Syndicate an easement from Brimstone back to the financial hub of Windsward don't want to yield this critical transportation route through fare. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the history of Eternum last night as the Syndicate members of the island unite in solidarity and hold off the Inquisition of the Covenant. KOTT News caught up with a member of the mercenarial security forces in Windsward and spoke with them about the fight.
Congratulations on your victory here in Windsward, holding them outside of the fort with 2 points to spare. Would you care to take us through how you were able to hold them out?
Yes, sir. For my group and our kill squad, I believe Dreidel, we were holding it down on the side point versus 2 kill squads, man. They're running some crazy tech, I'm telling you. And I was seeing some spear BBs, man. I don't know what was going on there. And then a lot of the heroes had ice helmets. Some crazy tech, I'm telling you.
Oh, people trying out some new combinations to see what they can make work, huh?
Yup.
Well, you were able to hold them out, making the difference known across the island that JDB is for real here in Windsward. I'm sure you have aspirations to continue expanding beyond the island. Would you care to tell us where you might be going next?
Oh, yes, sir, of course. I think we have plans. I think we're looking to take Everfall.
Oh, gonna go after the heavyweight champs. Well, I look forward to seeing that.
Yes, sir.
That's gonna be a good fight. Was there anybody out on your team tonight that you might want to highlight in their efforts?
Oh, let me see. Oh, shout out to my boy, to our shot caller, J. Perry, man. J. Perry Diff.
Moments later in Monarch's Bluff, we caught up with a commit member to go over their victory as well.
Congratulations on your victory here in Monarch's Bluff, able to hold them to just one outer point left. Would you care to take us through how you were able to maintain control for so long?
Oui. Merci beaucoup, JChalant. Absolutely, yeah, it was good night. Full 3-period, 30-minute action. So it was a pretty intense the first period. Second period got a little dull, and third period, 1-point hold. We had a full 50-man roster holding it down.
Indeed, I saw that your rotations were pretty solid. They came up over the ramparts for most of their attempts there in the third period, but you were able to push them back. And at one point, you were actually able to push them back all the way to their assault camp. Was there anybody on your squad who really stood out in their performance for you tonight?
Yeah, they went for the high ground. We conquered that. Company-wise, there's, I can go up and down. I could talk all night about the roster. A lot of good. I want to highlight a couple of the people that we were missing. Lely Bear. I think he snuck out prior to the war. Somewhere in the Monarch's Gasway, he might have snuck out in the poop chute or something. And Ironheart, Ironheart. They both kind of snuck out pre-war, so we had commit members, but a couple of them were slipping.
Returning to our ongoing coverage of the Season 1 event, last night's activities resulted in another bingo for KOTT News. Leave a comment if you've hit more bingos than me. Quickly to the weather, and once the sun gets up and going, it's going to be a beautiful morning all day long again. Then look out after sunset as the humidity drops and the corruption invasion forces come out across 30% of the island. Another submission for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Tonight, the Syndicate forces of Rackit assail the Covenant converts of Outcast for control of the crocodile-infested southern peninsula of Cutlass Keys. The Fresh Bench forces of Rackit, executing their right to rematch, return to the Keys after a 3-day hiatus, attempting to resecure the island's secondary oil reserves. However, Outcast 2 continue to improve, stand ready to defend the Keys without relying on support from the parent company, and look forward to proving themselves to the rest of the island. We'll have any late-breaking outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the Syndicate members of Fresh Out of the Oven cast out the Outcast in Cutlass Keys. KOTT News were standing by at City Hall and spoke with the victors after the fight.
Congratulations on your victory here in Cutlass Keys, able to get into the fort and get it over with in about 9 minutes flat. Would you care to take us through how you were able to make it happen so quickly?
Yeah, hi, I'm Yuppie. So Bo has to go to A, and Bo shoot horn. I shoot horn A cap. I come B. B was capped by the time I come B. So then we go C, and then C was capped. So all I do is at that point, then the vote says shoot horn Bo, and Bo shoot horn. No more horn, war over.
Yeah, just like that, the war was indeed over, Yuppie. Was Bo your shot caller tonight? Is he someone who stood out in their performance?
No, Bo is me. I am Bo. I use a bow.
Oh, you use bow. Oh, there it is,
Yes.
and it looks good.
I shoot horn with bow.
An excellent job you did tonight. Was there anybody else who did an excellent job?
No.
Nope, just you? All right.
Shout out R41.
Last night's bingo attempt was a little bit of a fizzle as KOTT News merely had a diagonal line, but we had been hitting some bingos lately, so we were due for a cold stretch. Turning to the weather for today, and after another afternoon of sunshine for all the flower sniffers counting down the final days of the event, keep an eye out for Jolene looking for volunteers to fill 2 rosters in response to corruption invasion forces across 20% of the island. Another submission for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Additional consideration provided by the Craft Services crew. The generous contributions of viewers like you really do help out the channel. Thank you. Tonight, the Syndicate members of JDB's Kitchen assault the Covenant converts of Outcast for control of the bear-infested deep forests of Brightwood. JDB's Kitchen return again to Brightwood to reassert their right of possession through First Purchase Factional Association, which is a roundabout way of saying, Purple bought it first, it belongs to Purple. But Outcast have held off the kitchen staff before, albeit with perhaps a limited roster. But their roster was limited as well, so we shall see whose roster outshines the other tonight. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the Syndicate members of JDB's Kitchen re-secure the bear-infested deep forests of Brightwood. KOTT News were on the scene and spoke with a mercenarial representative about the fight.
It was good. We got the 50-50 on B. We had way too much aggression on him and no road on the healers. But he just couldn't keep up. And then we went straight to C, no cleansing, no pit stops. Straight to C. Went to our positions. We just played it just how we played it on B.
Well, now that you've reacquired Brightwood in the name of the Syndicate, what are your intentions for the rest of the island, sir?
Let's see. Let's take a look at the map real quick. How's it looking? Well, it looks like Outcast have 1 territory left, which is a Brimstone. I think we'll let them keep that one. But right now, I believe we got to go ahead and start pushing Everfell. I think we're going to start working on that tonight.
Oh, there you have it. Then it's time for the other big force on the island to be reckoned with. The Heavyweight Championship title bout coming soon to KOTT News. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
KOTT also spoke with members of the recently Outcast.
Looking forward to seeing you running it back, though. What do you think about it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't know. Seagate, we love them, but then the point was like half tick, so we kind of just let it go. Like I would just let them get through that point or something. And then we ended up killing a bunch of them though, which were all the people that got through C, and then like for the most part, like back right, they had so many. And I think they were just leaking through B.
The Syndicate celebration continued throughout the night on the steps of City Hall. Official lumber rations were once again made available for Syndicate members daily. Returning to our continuing coverage of the Season 1 track pace, last night's card was a near bingo, but I was just not in the mood for expeditions. Looking at the weather, and after another successful defense against corruption last night, the sun will keep us warm again all afternoon long. Then be on the lookout after sundown as the cool breeze inspires corruption invasion forces to rise up across 30% of the island. 2 more submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Up first, the Marauders of Stam Out Z assault the Covenant smugglers of Error.pxp for control of the island's primary oil reserves of Weaver's Fin. These 2 rivals go at it once more as the Marauders' forces set up an assault camp on the highlands of the fort, overlooking the peat moss bog below. Error forces have been generating revenue by selling the oil necessary to move product they used to smuggle themselves, but now they're in control of the eastern shipping hub. Then, the Covenant converts of Outcast attack the Syndicate forces of the Yoop Troop for control of the medicinal hot springs and resort destination of Ebon Scale. Outcast forces, falling back after last night, regroup with reinforcements from Brimstone and attempt to secure a stronger hold on the island's northwestern holdings. but the Yoop troops are well prepared to defend the bamboo forest preserves with all their might, presumably with bows, in light of their namesake's speciality. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News.